Hello everyone, happy day wherever you are. Welcome to this happy moment. I'm Jennifer with Personal Power Life Coaching, and I am wishing you a beautiful moment wherever you are, whenever you listen, and a joyous life continuation. So today's topic for self-empowerment and more connectedness and clarity for living life in the most aligned and joyous manner with the greatest amount of peace and joy, and reducing our suffering, ending your suffering, my suffering, because when you're happy, then you begin to see the world in a better place, in a better way, and everything becomes better, and everything will flow from that. So let's focus on the topic, and the main message is about our thoughts and how we are beings that are constantly thinking something. There's constantly something going on behind the scenes, right? We have our face, which is what's going on outside, which we present to the world and when we look in the mirror. But what's going on behind closed doors in the interior world is quite a different picture. And there's so much stimuli. There are so many things going on around us through advertisements, TV, society. If you're in the office, in a corporate setting, you have the interactions with other people, traffic, and so many things, family. And without all of those, there's still our own background thinking, our own data, and some people would call it baggage or garbage or jibber jabber. And also there are beautiful, kind, warm, and positive thoughts as well. So the main thing is what I've been learning these past few days and developing for myself has been about mindfulness. And I discovered the work of a psychiatrist, Dr. Jeffrey Schwartz, and I looked him up and I discovered his videos, and he talks a lot about how we are not our brain. He's worked with OCD patients over the past 15 years or more, and he's developed a 4-step method, or just the 4 steps that helped OCD patients to gain more peace and clarity and to reduce their symptoms. And the main idea is there are 4 components, which are that, to start out with, the premise is that you are not your thoughts, and you are not your feelings, and you are not your emotions. And what I mean by this is that what I experience is that we think something, a thought comes into our mind, and there's a tendency or a chain reaction whereby you think the thought and then you feel a feeling or have an emotion, a reaction. And then that creates a connection in our brain where we think that it's real, or that it's true, or we think that it's a fact, that it's actually happening. But if you take a step back, you begin to realize, if you question it, if you interrogate it or inquire, as another of my teachers, Byron Katie, has as her work, if you inquire and ask, is it true? Whatever it is you're thinking, the assumption you're making or the conclusion that you're making, you can ask yourself, is it true? Can I absolutely know that it's true? And those 2 questions will begin to give you a bit more peace and some more distance between you and those difficult emotions. You can even just, what I've done here in my kitchen or in my life is I just ask myself, what's really going on? What is really happening right now? And whenever you might feel that something is wrong, it may happen where you just have a day or a moment suddenly where you feel that something's off, or in your relationship, you feel that something's not right, something's wrong, and then you conclude something must be wrong, something is off, and then you take actions or you treat people as a result of that thought. When you go back and you take a step back, you ask yourself, is it true? What am I basing this conclusion on or assumption? Am I jumping to conclusions here? Is it true? And then you can begin to see, well, maybe there's no evidence for this. Maybe what am I basing this on? I just had a feeling, I had a thought. So there are a lot of things that we could approach this with, but basically is to bear in mind that our feelings and emotions proceed from a thought, a memory, a thought. And sometimes memories create a specific thought, or they generate a thought that is attached to that memory. So if you ask yourself, what am I thinking? Where did my mind go to? What was my memory about? What was that image or that vision? Because you could be feeling great, and then you remember something, and that memory generates an emotion that is difficult or not as positive or joyful as you were just feeling 2 seconds ago. And so then you change, it morphs into, now your feelings morph into something different. It's like when you're cooking, you can start out with brown sugar only and you're caramelizing something. But if you add hot cayenne pepper to that mix, it's no longer going to be as sweet. And if the person is allergic to spice, then it's a horrible combination that is just not consumable. So it's the same with our emotions. You know, when we combine negative with the positive, and the negative is so much stronger, it becomes something that is difficult for you to stomach. So just bear in mind that you are not your feelings, you are not your emotions, and you are not your thoughts. Even though we think we are sometimes, we think something and we assume or conclude that must be true, or something must be wrong, or something must be off, or even if it's a good assumption, that could feel good, but then it's important to know when we're doing it in one direction that enhances us and benefits us joyously, and in another way where it is diluting ourselves or where it's creating pain and unnecessary suffering. That's the key thing, is to ask yourself, is this thought, is this thinking, is this conclusion or assumption, is it creating suffering and pain? Why is it so painful? Why does it hurt so much to think that or to feel that way? What was I thinking? So you are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings or emotions. We are not our thoughts. I am not my thoughts. I am not my feelings or my emotions. I am something beyond that and beneath that. So remembering that, right? We have to constantly remember, I'm not what I think, but I can become what I think if I allow myself to, if I don't interrogate, if I'm not present, if I'm not mindful, if I'm not aware of what's happening here and now, then I will become my thoughts, because they will take over me. Then my brain and my mind will take me over, and then who's running the show, right? Who's really managing our life experience? What is really happening here? It's like, that's when people may feel that their life is out of control. But this is why, even if we don't have all the answers and we don't have it all figured out, and there are a lot of unknowns and unpredictables in life, you can at least be present and mindful in those difficult moments of life and daily life experience where we think something. And sometimes the thoughts are like lightning rods that happen without any sound, any thunder, and it just happens. It disappears in a millisecond. So ask yourself, whenever you feel that negative emotion, and I say this for myself, is, what was I thinking? What was I just thinking that made me feel this way? What am I thinking now? How am I seeing things, life, myself, this place, etc.? So that can really help you on a daily basis whenever you feel something bad or negative in your relationship or at work, or if you're at the bank waiting in line or you're in traffic, is, what am I thinking? What's going on up here? Because if you have, as soon as we have one negative thought, it can easily create another one, and it creates another one. Okay, so this is really where it takes a little bit of effort, and just being open and willing to do it, and baby steps, starting out with that mindfulness. So you are not your thoughts or feelings or emotions. You are something deeper and more profound than that, that is not suffering or that is not hurting. And you can share this with your friends and family when they go through their own tough experiences. It's like, are you sure? What are you basing that on? Sort of like a lawyer, sort of like an investigator. What is that based on? Do you have any evidence? Are you projecting onto someone else? Are you making assumptions, jumping to conclusions? And then when you have a negative feeling or a negative emotion, ask yourself, what was the thought that preceded that feeling? What was I thinking in the minutes before that? What changed, right? What were you thinking? And write it down if it helps. If it's especially strong, ask yourself, what am I thinking? What's going on? What am I feeling? So one of the steps that Dr. Jeffrey Schwartz highlights is to label, to relabel what is happening. So he has 4 steps, and right now the first one is a little bit escaping me, but it's basically relabel, reframe, refocus. Oh, so those are the 4 steps. So it's relabel. So whatever you're feeling, put a label on it. Identify it, and that way you create some space between you and the feeling and it doesn't overpower you. Then reframe it. Identify how you can recontextualize what you're feeling, and see it from a different angle or a different perspective. How can this also be serving you and benefiting you? And then refocus. So rather than following the urge or the tendency to yell out or to react or to take whatever negative course of action, such as maybe just continuing to go into that depression, or to go into an urge, like an urge to eat or to have something that you don't want to consume. And this is especially good for addicts who want to overcome their addictions and compulsions and their urges, is to refocus. So shift your focus to something else. And you may even need to have a way to shift it positively by thinking immediately of something positive. And this is hard when you're going through the real deep, hard emotions. But, again, just taking the first step, label what you're feeling first. Get some space. Take power over the situation as opposed to you letting it overwhelm you. And then the last step is to, so you refocus, and then you are going to revalue. So the ultimate step is for this to be more automatic for us, so that we're not automatically giving into feelings and giving into emotions, but taking action from an aligned and centered, grounded space. And the more we cultivate that space, the more you can take the course of action, make decisions that are from that space of wisdom, that space of peace and self-love. And as a complement to this whole process, we can even ask on a daily basis, on a constant basis, maybe hour to hour, is I want to be led by my true self. I want to be led by my higher self. I want to receive the wisdom of the universe. I want to be inspired by wisdom, and I want to be led by the thoughts of my higher self, my true self, the self that has my best interests at heart, the self that knows there is only beauty for me, that there's a joyful life here for us, that there's only well-being. And to go forward from that space of love and hearts. And I just said hearts because somebody just sent me a lot of hearts. So thank you for that. That's really sweet. And so that's the guidance for today. The insight, the personal power insight, is that we are not our thoughts or feelings or our emotions. We are something more profound and deeper than that on a God level. But just putting it in practical terms of how you can manage emotions more effectively, just remember and realize that you can create space between you and difficult emotions by labeling what something is, by asking yourself what you were thinking before you had that feeling, and then shifting it around and reframing it so that you're no longer a victim captured or trapped in this scenario, but you take a step back, you shift your perspective, and you claim your power and your self-control bit by bit. So it's all about a process. That's it for now. I will leave it at that. Just acknowledge what you're feeling, label it, know that it's not you. If you're feeling great and joyful, that's fantastic, and flow with that loving energy. Ask to be guided from your higher self, from your true self, and your decisions will flow from that. And remember that peace is the normal, joy is the way. And happiness is here for you anytime when we're open to it and we allow that to shine. So thanks for joining. I love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I'm wishing you a joyful life ahead. God bless you. Lots of luck and love and happiness. And I will see you next time. Bye from Jennifer from Personal Power Life Coaching. Have a great day. Bye.